Hello everyone, this is Denise Lewis, and my portion of the project was to look at how our school would implement Common Core along with the reform ideas of some of the folks that we have been learning about, like Mark Prensky and Yang Zhao. So my portion talks about TED Talks in the English Language Arts classroom. Now, we've worked a lot with TED Talks in our LME classes, and so I thought this would be a great way to incorporate it into what that might look like in the classroom and how that also uses reform standards and Common Core. So let's get started with the TED Talk here, or not the TED Talk, but our lesson on using a TED Talk. So our guiding question would be, what matters to you? That would be the basic assignment that we would give the students. And after viewing several TED Talks and participating in class discussion, students will create their own TED Talks and deliver them in a form of a class of their peers while being recorded, and then upload their talks to the TEDx Classroom project on the YouTube channel. And so basically, this is an open question, and students can just choose what matters most to them, do the research, and then come up with their own TED Talk. Now, for Common Core standards, this uses several things. It uses these three standards in particular. These are upper high school level standards. They would need to present information, findings, and supporting evidence, conveying a clear and distinct perspective such that listeners can follow the line of reasoning. Alternative or opposing perspectives are addressed, and the organization, development, substance, and style are appropriate to purpose, audience, and a range of formal and informal tasks. It also incorporates the standard that they need to make strategic use of digital media, e.g., textual, graphical, audio, visual, and interactive elements in presentations to enhance understanding of finding, reasoning, and evidence, and to add interest. So not only are they being recorded, but the students also need to bring in their own text and graphics and audio and visual and interactive elements to their TED Talk to use during their presentation, and adapt speech to a variety of contexts and tasks, demonstrating a command of formal English when indicated or appropriate. Now, the create standards that we are going to use are going to be for the cognitive complexity, we're going to use a level 5 specializing, because the students are generating their own question, or they're given a prompt question, but beyond that, what matters to you, they have to kind of create their own question. And the content and how they're going to generate it, how they're going to plan it, how they're going to produce it, they are in control of all of that. And this requires complex thinking like a content expert, just like a TED Talk expert. And so then we move on to real world, and that's a level 4 integrating, because the learning emphasizes and impacts the classroom, the school, or community, and the learning is integrated across subject areas. So what matters to them could be something in the science field, the technology field, it could be something engineering, it could be a social issue. So there's many things that they might come up with as a subject area. For engagement, it's a level 5 specializing, because the students are going to initiate their own inquiry-based learning project through immersion, full implementation from topic to solution, and the students are going to initiate appropriate collaborations pertaining to their project. And for technology integration, this is a level 4 integrating, because the student technology use is embedded in content and essential to the project completion, and it promotes collaboration among students in partnership with the teacher, and it helps them to solve authentic problems at the analyze, evaluate, or create levels. So whatever matters to them, and we'll see in just a minute, not only do they have to explain what matters to them, but they have to give a compelling argument, and then they need to kind of take that a little bit farther and present a solution or compel other students to take action. Now, this was inspired by Mark Prensky. He's one of the people that I felt did a really great job of explaining and the inspiration behind this. So I have a quote from him. It's a video quote, and I'm going to play that now.
The things that I would like educators to understand about our world today is that we live in a new context. The biggest things technologically that are making a difference are the network and the fact that now people are connected, and we're just learning how to do that. Facebook is just the very beginning of people understanding that they have a particular home and a node on the network and connect with other people, but that's going to expand in the lifetime of these kids. Video is also really important because it's become a medium that people start to communicate in, and it's even in many cases supplanting writing in particular areas as the way, the primary means. So we need to make sure that our kids are good at using that medium as a way to communicate. There are a number of parental concerns that really we ought to address in a very good, responsible way. One is about screen time. And my answer to that is, as parents, of course, we want to balance what our kids do and give them exposure, but we live in a screen age. And just as we don't talk about how much book time do you have and how much food time do you have, we say don't do any of those things in excess and in imbalance, but each person is going to have to find what works for him or her. It's very important that people understand that technology is not about stuff. We tend to think of it as being about iPads and being about other things that it really isn't. It's about what's behind those things and what we use it for. Technology is an extension of our thinking. It's an extension of our brain. And we can't turn it off. We live in a time when it is now part of us, and we have to learn to adapt and to integrate it and become symbiotic with technology.
All right, so now moving on, the other reformer that inspired this project was Yang Zhao. And here's a quote from our World Class Learners book. Creating a work that matters. Matter to the students and to the potential customers, not necessarily to the prescribed standards or curriculum. The works do not have to be one end product like a piece of art, a book, or a video. They can be a service or a program. Another quote was, the product-oriented learning experiences mimic a typical entrepreneurial activity. And many of the reformers are entrepreneurs themselves. So I feel like this project is a really great way to emulate the things that Yang Zhao and Mark Prinsky talked about. Now, so here's an example of a student-produced TED Talk. This was uploaded from TEDx Classroom Project, and this is Derek and his TED Talk on Are We Killing Our Oceans? So I'm going to give you just an example here of what this would look like as an end product. Sorry, let's try that again.
Now I want all of y'all to imagine the most beautiful ocean you've ever seen. Imagine it and close your eyes for a second. Imagine yourself walking towards the beach. No, actually, you're running towards it. Your life depends on it. If you don't get there soon enough, you're going to be eaten, taken away, or killed. But imagine yourself 1/100th of your current size. Every bottle laying on the beach is twice your size. Every wrapper a mountain. Imagine how much harder it would be to get to the beach in this situation. Now open your eyes. This is the life of a hatchling sea turtle on a polluted beach in the Galapagos. This is right after a party. Sea turtles, as soon as they hatch, are instinctively going towards the ocean, trying to get there as fast as they can. Only 20% of them make it to the ocean. because so many predators and so much pollution is on the beach. However, only 2% make it to adulthood. Now you may ask why only 2% make it to adulthood. You may think disease, or predators, or anything you can think of an ocean creature. But the truth is, the #1 cause of death in sea turtles is pollution. And when you really think about conservation of the ocean, it's really 90% of our planet. 90% of the inhabitants of this planet are in the ocean. And whenever you look at coral reefs, 25% of the life in that ocean lives there. Due to industrialization over the past 300 years, coral reefs have been decreasing in size dramatically, taking away lives of all these countless creatures. 25% of the ocean is dying. Take a look at this coral reef in the Bahamas. Half of its mass has been destroyed due to cruise ships, overfishing, and scraping of the seafloor, and along with it, half of the creatures that live there. Take an example for the mola mola. Jellyfish need to be kept in control. They reproduce very rapidly. And to tell you the truth, eating 100 jellyfish only affords you 2 calories. So if mola molas go extinct and jellyfish take over the ocean, I'm pretty sure you'd have to eat 100,000 jellyfish a day to sustain a 2,000 calorie diet. And that's not very practical. Look at the manatee, the hippo of the ocean, if you want to call it. These manatees are one of the most endangered species on the planet. And the #1 cause of their death is pollution in the sea kelp and the seagrass that they eat. Not the cruise ships that hit them. 50 out of 100 manatees die because of pollution. When you see this image, how does it make you feel? Whale being held up in a net like it's a toy? How does that make you feel, seeing one of the largest, most magnificent creatures on the planet held up in a net? Japanese whaling is one of the most profitable industries in the entire world. But Japanese whalers don't do it to save the ocean, to help the economy. They do it to make a quick buck. They do it illegally, and then they sell all the resources of the whale to make a quick buck. That's not right. The ecology of the ocean is at stake. Take the recent oil spill that just happened in the Gulf of Mexico. 42,000 gallons of oil were being released into the ocean every day during this oil spill. And the most captivating thing about the oil spill is that we had no plan in place if that oil spill ever did spill. We had no plan in place if it actually exploded, like it did. And we still haven't found out a way to get rid of all this oil. This is not something that's just going to stop tomorrow, or the oil's not just going to magically disappear. It's going to destroy the wildlife and the ecology of the Gulf for many years to come, maybe even destroying the fishing industry for Louisiana, Mississippi, and maybe Texas. When you see this decrepit sea otter, think of all the life that it eats. It eats the oysters, it eats some fish. But guess what? What happens when all of that's destroyed? Even if the otter itself doesn't die, all of its life around it dies, and therefore it cannot have anything to eat, and it dies as well. The one thing I want you to take from this talk is that ocean conservation is now. It's not yesterday. It's not a week from now. It's not 2 months from now, not 2 years from now, not 20 years from now. It is now. If we don't save 90% of our planet, if the ocean were to just disappear right now, our planet and life on Earth would disappear. The origin of our species comes from the ocean. Don't you think it's time we save it? My last point. When you're looking out on the ocean, its mystery, its power, its grace, and its current state of suffering, there's one question that I'd like all of you to think about. How will you change the world? Thank you.
And that concludes my portion of the project on how TED Talks in the English language classroom can blend Common Core standards with educational reform.